Hello, 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 and good evening, everyone. How are you all tonight? It's me, Vinnie Vanilla, and tonight I am joined by a very special guest. Here we have Vinnie Vanilla. That's right, it's my brother, my bro. How are you tonight,
Hi.
Vinnie?
I am still recovering, but fine.
Understandable. The hard life up here in this airship. Dirigible. Whatever you call it.
Should I have this open so that I can see chat?
Uh, like have it open on you could always just have the video open and muted. That's
Yeah,
what I
that's the
do when
only
I collab.
solution I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, chat, say hello to my bro. He has this wonderful dirigible. Bronilla? So, how are you this evening, Vinnie?
Doing good. There we
Right.
go.
Getting all the technical stuff together. So, yes, tonight we are mainly going to be chatting about alcohol and the making of it. But feel free to ask I don't know, whatever kind of mad scientist questions you want to ask. He knows a bunch about chemistry. Maybe we could talk about the
Not
chemistry of
really.
bread. You know more than me.
Given, but that's not the highest bar.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
baking is chemistry. But I just wing
Yeah.
it and go by feel.
Well,
Though
as
judging
far
from the
as
videos, the one video you sent me with like the margarine and stuff, and I watched like another clip. Judging by that, chemists tend to, I don't know, they're kind of like bakers. They're like, oh, let's throw some stuff together and see what happens.
it depends on the chemist.
True. That guy in particular seemed
Though
kind
I
of like
say
that.
that, it's probably most of the chemists I've hung out with are entirely willing to throw things together and see what happens.
Mad scientist gang.
Okay, but I guess first with the alcohol stuff, I've got
Mm-hmm.
a bit of experience making things. It started, I think, when I was 12, and I made some sodas because if you make up some flavored sugar water, chuck a little bit of yeast in, let it go for about a day, then cap it off, you get the carbonation, but it's at like negligible alcohol content. And I'd seen that that's possible, and I was like, hey, Mom, can I make this? She was like, oh, sure. So I did, and it was fun.
Now, jog my memory. What did we do with that alcohol wine, or not the watermelon wine?
That got thrown out eventually.
I kind of remember it. I remember it did not turn out well. What did we do again? Did we just like put watermelon juice in a bottle in the cabinet?
No. What happened is we'd had some cookout or party or whatever, and all the watermelon got left out overnight. And then the next day it was off. And I was like, hey, it's already kind of started doing something. I wonder if I like blend it up and thrown some yeast, if it might turn into something decent.
It didn't.
It did not.
No. I can't remember.
After years of sitting in the back of a cabinet, it
went for years?
Get less dangerous, but it never turned into something you'd want to drink.
I remember us opening it, and it smelled pretty bad. I can't remember if I tasted it.
Yeah. That was a failed experiment.
It was. Yeah, here, just a second.
The thing I've done the most of is apple cider, because where I'm at right now, I've got a couple of apple trees. And our first year here, we had a great harvest, and I made a big batch of apple cider, and that stuff is great.
Yeah. You're loud.
Then outside of what I've actually done, I'm the type to over-research everything. So
Yeah.
I've read a lot of things.
So, what can you tell chat some of your successful experiments?
Some of them, yeah. There's the cider. Kvass is real easy and quite nice.
How do you make? I think I tried to make kvass with my beets, but I'm not. I think it's actually still sitting in the back of my fridge, but I'm not sure if I did it right.
How I did it at Aldi, they've got this really dark rye bread. You get that. You toast it till it's very dry and dark. Crumble it up, chuck it in water with some sugar and yeast, and let it sit. So with that, you're adding the sugar for the yeast to eat, and the bread is just there for flavor. It's not contributing much. Or if you actually make a beer, you need malted grain, and then you need to heat it and cool it to get the enzymes in the malted grain to convert the starches into sugar, and then the yeasts can eat the sugar.
Yeah. I think when I tried to do it, it was more just like a fermented... I think it was just like trying to ferment some beets. But I forget if I tried it. I don't think I tried it. I think I fermented it and thought it was right and stuck it in the fridge and haven't drunken it yet. Should probably dig it out at some point. Let's see.
Yeah, I've not seen it done with beets, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was... I don't know. I'm not sure what I did. It's in the back of my fridge still. Have to look it up. But yeah. Do you have any questions, chat, about how maybe different alcohols are made? I know you were telling me there's the one where it's fermented, and then one where it's like fermented then distilled, right? That's like the difference between like beer and like hard liquor.
Yeah, because that's the biggest division. Because on the one hand, you've got wines and beers and ciders that are just fermented. That puts a hard cap on how much alcohol can be in it because yeast can only tolerate a certain level of alcohol. It depends on the strain of yeast. Because I think with some sake, you can get up close to 20%. I don't know of anything that's just fermented that really breaks 20%. But then if you ferment something and then boil it, condense the steam, you can end up with a higher percentage of alcohol. And for me personally, I enjoy spirits more, partly because I can drink a little bit of a bottle and the bottle can hang around, where if I have beer, you can't have half a bottle of beer and leave the rest in the fridge for later.
So why is that? Like, is it like what makes beer go flat, whereas liquor you don't have to worry about that?
Well, beer goes flat the same reason anything else carbonated goes flat. You get those bubbles because you have more gas in the liquid than can be held in the liquid by atmospheric pressure. So as soon as you unseal it and it's exposed to atmospheric pressure, the gas escapes. I mean, over a given amount of time, but still.
Whereas the distilled stuff isn't relying on the carbonation, right?
It's not carbonated ever at all.
Yeah.
Because the process of distilling involves boiling. And that would very quickly remove all possible carbonation. Yeah.
So there's a local distillery by us that I think it's been in a family for a long time, and it used to be like illegal like moonshine people, but eventually they just made like a little family distillery.
It's only been a distillery for a handful of years, but they have 3 or 4 generations of experience.
Yeah. So there, the little inside shop area is really fun, where it has all kinds of like different things hanging on the wall that had been in the family, especially during the like black market years. Anyway, it was cool because they have a they'll do tours like while they're open during the week. Pretty much any time between store hours, you can come in and they'll give you a little tour of it, and then give you samples of everything. And so they have bourbon, whiskey, and moonshines, and they also flavor the moonshine. So there's like a pina colada moonshine, an apple pie moonshine, like peach moonshine. Pretty yummy, but it was fascinating because they have just like a big warehouse where they keep all the fermenting stuff. And they have these big vats of all the kind of wheat or barley or whatever, and you can just see it like bubbling. And it's crazy watching the fermentation like that, where it's just like this big giant thing sitting, but it's bubbling. And it's interesting too because
it's the same thing you do with the starters.
Yeah. It's kind of mad. It's like magic. Feels a little bit like magic sometimes, just because it's really like fascinating, but it's just science. So that was cool to see. And then since they have just like a big warehouse that's not temperature controlled for like their bourbons and stuff, when they age it, they have a specific number on the barrel. And so if there's a little bit of fluctuation between, I guess, exactly how each barrel turns out. And so if you really like a certain one, you can, there's a number on the barrel, so you can try and get the same batch, because it's, has a little bit of fluctuation being not temperature controlled and such. So yeah, I thought that was pretty
cool. So
cool.
we have some actual questions.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'll go ahead and do those before they get buried.
Mm-hmm.
So first one that I see is rum. So what rum is any distilled spirit made from sugarcane. And that has a ton of variety. Rum is pretty awesome because you can do anything from a rum agricole, which is the initial crushing of the sugarcane, where you have that fresh cane juice. You just chuck that in a vat with some yeast and let it go. With that, it's almost a bright, like vegetal, almost grassy kind of thing going on. It's more expensive because you can do a lot of other things with the fresh cane juice. Or you can use the cane syrup where it's been boiled down a bit. You can use the molasses. You can use any combination of the three. And then you get into all the aging options. Yeah. Rum is an adventure.
When I was in New Orleans once, we took a tour at a rum distillery there, and I think that one was technically the oldest distillery. Like, it wasn't super old, but I think it was technically the oldest distillery that was like around. But it's pretty cool seeing the whole process, because they showed all the different, the big vats, and then how they like separate the head, like the alcohol, I forget what exactly is in the head, where it's like they separate some of the fumes or...
Yeah, what that is. So, I want to get to Grug's question in just 1 second. But, so when you're distilling, so different compounds have different boiling points. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Ethanol, which is the alcohol that doesn't poison you much. It boils around, 75 or 80 degrees Celsius? I don't remember right off. But then you have other compounds that are made during the fermentation process. A big one in the heads is acetone.
That's like paint remover and stuff, right?
And so, yeah. So that's why with some like really cheap bottom shelf stuff, it'll make you think nail polish remover, is because they weren't doing a good job when they made their cuts. Because in a simple pot still, you apply heat and you wait, and then you start getting some steam off. That first stuff is going to be everything with a very low boiling point, which is volatile, stinky stuff. So you'll take that stuff and dump it out before you start collecting the hearts, which is the good stuff. And then if you keep going, you get into the tails, which is mostly water, but also all the weird, gross stuff that's stuck on the bottom of the pot.
Yeah. I remember them describing it and being like, yeah, that's why the cheap stuff gives you more of a headache, is because they didn't take out as much of the stuff that gives you headaches.
Exactly. So, Grug's question said, so wait, you can make rum that is vodka? Yes, because I think the only requirement to call something vodka is it has to be distilled at, I want to say 95% or higher.
It's pretty
I'm
intense.
not 100% on that number. But what that means is, so any vodka is going to be made on a column still, which is a big stack of plates with holes in them. So it fills up with steam. And then as all the different temperatures, it basically stratifies out based on the boiling temperature. So as things that boil at a lower temperature that are just barely steam run into things that boil at a higher temperature, the things that boil at lower temperature will tend to condense out and fall through the plates to lower levels, where the lighter stuff will tend to sit higher in the column. So then, depending on where on the column you pull liquid off, that liquid will have different concentrations of various compounds. So all it takes to call something vodka is, hey, you pull it off up high at the top, up high, so it's like mostly just ethanol. So you end up with very little flavor impact from whatever you're distilling from. Because as you go lower, you get a lot of the more interesting flavor compounds. Like, I think especially some scotches will go fairly deep into the tails, because that gets you some compounds that, after they sit in a barrel long enough, change into some very nice things, though they start out pretty funky.
A lot of this stuff goes over my head.
Yeah. A big part of why I have the interest in the distilled spirits that I have is because there's so much that goes into it, and so many ways they can be tweaked and played with, even outside of aging. Aging is its own thing entirely. So let's see. That was rum. Sake. It's based on rice. And generally, traditionally, instead of yeast, they use a fungus. No. Yeast is still involved, but they have I want to say it's koji, but I'm not 100%. It's a fungus that has the enzymes to break down the starch in the rice into simple sugars that the yeast can eat. So whereas if you're using barley, it needs to be malted, which malting is starting the germination process of the seed. Because when a seed germinates, it needs to break down the starches into sugars so it can have the energy to grow. So you start that process and stop it. So you've still got all those starches locked away, but the process has started. So then when you get it wet again and get it up to a temperature where things happen faster, all the starches get broken down into sugars, and then the yeast can use it. So instead of malting, the Japanese use a fungus that has those enzymes. There's more to it, but I've not got more info right now. Let's see. What does distilled mean? Yeah, distilling is you make something hot, you condense the steam, and you pick the parts you like. The 5 times distilled vodka just means they really shouldn't be making a pot still. So especially if you're in a pot still or something where it's batch distillation and not a continuous column, then you would distill multiple times.
Interesting.
Which I guess there might be people that do that, but I've not looked too deeply into vodka. Because it's...
Why do you think it's such a thing that, like, Russians have their vodka? Was it, like, developed in Russia first?
No. I want to say Poland, but I'm not 100% on that. I've looked at some of the history of vodka in Russia. It's not that pleasant.
Oh, no.
I don't think it's quite as horrible as the whole opium thing the English did in China.
Oh, man.
But it's in
this
that
sounds like a
same
fun rabbit hole to
genre
go down.
of give drugs to all the peasants. Like, the vodka bottles that were being sold, you could not close them.
Okay, so
like,
you just had to
you
drink the
open
whole
the cap
thing.
and it's broken open. Yeah.
Ah.
And then you're totally wasted and get those dependencies going.
Ah, I see. To control the masses with their drug of choice. I see.
I don't remember details off the top of my head, but it's an interesting but not very pleasant history.
Not the best in ethics, I see. Or, like, you know, it's not very ethical practice. Question is, was it effective?
Effective in doing what?
I don't know. Was there a goal to it, aside from just, make everyone dependent on you?
I don't know.
I'm guessing that was the goal, just, like, dependency.
Yeah. I haven't looked too close at it. It was just a thing I ran into that was an overview, and that was probably a couple years ago now.
I see. Let's see. Any other questions? Let's see. Grug blinked out. Grug might watch back later. Too much science for Grug, maybe? I don't know. These kinds of things, sometimes it's like, goes over my head, and I just smile and nod when you guys go on rants.
I mean, part of the problem is no concept of who's at what level in all this stuff. So it's kind of I'll say stuff and then people can ask questions.
There we go. Yeah, there we
go.
go.
And I guess that'd work. Yeah,
like distilling, you know. If you know much about alcohol stuff, you might be like, oh, that's a silly question. Everyone knows what distilling is. But not everyone. So that's what we're here for. To ask any questions. So ask them away, chat. And we will answer. Maybe we could play a game where you say something and I say something. We try and figure out who's right. To try and answer the questions. Let's see. Do you make your own infused vodka? Can you infuse things in vodka? What you do is you take a syringe and you hunt down the vodka and you pin it to the ground and inject the flavor.
No. Your vanilla extract is a vodka infusion.
Yeah.
So one thing that alcohol is very good at is grabbing onto organic compounds and holding on to them. So that means you can get flavors out of what you put in it and into the liquid. So, like, that's how making a vanilla extract works. You take the vanilla, you chuck it in your alcohol. The alcohol pulls a lot of those flavor compounds out of the vanilla and suspends it in the alcohol, and you can pour it off and do stuff.
Yep. I started a batch of vanilla in February of last year. So now I have a big thing of it. I actually sent some to you guys. You guys now have my vanilla.
Yes, I have not tried it yet.
It doesn't seem as dark as like vanilla from the store. I don't know if I didn't let it set long enough or if they add dyes to most vanillas to make it look darker. Like the vanilla
Either
extracts.
is possible.
I feel like there's dyes in everything. Dyes everywhere. Dyes that give you cancer and make kids hyperactive.
I mean, people make decisions based on how foods and whatever look.
But then we've been conditioned through advertisements to expect a certain thing, and so they have to keep up with the advertisements by manipulating the product to look like the advertisements. They do this with oranges, where only, like, I don't know, certain climates, perhaps, I forget what exactly it is, will make the oranges look like super orange. Whereas there's other oranges that are perfectly good, but don't look quite as orange, but everyone expects those super orangey oranges, and so they add dyes to the oranges. And then, you know, there's more dyes in your diet. And then cancer, maybe.
Let's see. There's the thought question.
Big Bro's pig looks unhinged. What are you talking about? He looks totally like himself.
Hey now.
He's got a lovely smile. Don't you agree, chat?
So, Namish, what kinds of home brewing have I done? Mostly cider and wine kind of stuff, because I've not been set up to do proper home brewing, because I don't have a giant pot to mash in. But I might get that set up this year, because I do really want to try to do some proper beers.
We had some great homemade beer when we were visiting the other family a couple months ago. It was like, we had a big party, and there was the store-bought beer, and there was the homebrewed beer. And homebrewed beer, like, it was gone. It was a lot, and everyone drank that, and then there was all the store-bought beer left over. I think one thing that happened was he accidentally, like, burned something during the process, but it gave it a very nice flavor in the end. I forget the details.
Yeah.
It was yummy.
I really want to hang out with your in-laws.
Yeah. They're fun. It would be, yeah, it's hard. We need to bring everyone together. Let's see, someone says, why tequila make my tummy hurt? Oh no. I'm not sure if I've tried tequila, actually. Have you had tequila?
Like, me? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, good tequila is great. I've had bad tequila that was undrinkable.
Ooh.
So I'm going to say your problem is either drinking the wrong tequila or drinking too much, and probably both.
Or you sang the wrong song.
Let's see. Does mixing alcohols do anything flavor-wise? I mean, any flavors in the alcohol you have would interact with other flavors. I guess you could argue that mixing different vodkas together wouldn't matter enough to matter, but different vodkas do taste different. There's just not generally an emphasis on flavor in vodka. It's more an emphasis on clarity and stuff like that.
The quality of it. One time we were at this like sort of pub-ish air thing, and they had these really good beers that they like brewed there or whatever. And I'd had one, I was gonna try another one, and they were like, oh, we've got these flavors you can add in. And there was like a blood orange flavor. I'm like, that sounds really fun. Let's add it to, like, I think it was this wheat beer. It was better without the flavoring. It kind of made it just odd. I thought it would be a good idea, but I was not a fan of adding, like, a flavor syrup, I think, or whatever it was, to the beer.
That is an interesting concept.
Yeah, I don't know what the flavoring was exactly. I'm guessing it was just some sort of syrup they added. But yeah, I realized afterwards, I'm like, I would have enjoyed it better without the odd
at that
blood
point,
orange
it's more of
flavoring.
like a beer-based cocktail.
Yeah, but it's still very beery. It would be better to just have like a cocktail of some sort that was like blood orange. I do love a good like fruity mixed drink of some sort.
Yeah.
Let's see. How common are home brewing accidents?
I have not personally heard of one.
Is it
The
like
biggest
stuff
thing
exploding?
No. I mean, home brewing, the worst you're going to do is like burn yourself if you spill hot mash on you.
Hmm. What's the... Let's see. What would count as an accident, then?
Spilling a big pot of stuff on yourself? I don't know.
That sounds like that's just a kitchen accident, really. Spilling hot stuff on yourself. Let's see, there's another question. What is the easiest alcohol to make?
What is your goal? If your goal is just to have alcohol exist, you take some yeast, sugar, and water, and then like some tomato paste or raisins or something to be a bit of nutrient to the yeast, and you let it sit for a couple weeks, and then you have just some weird sugar wine.
So that's why, because like I've made mead. Mead's really easy because it's just the what is it? Honey. It's like basically honey water. You take, a couple pounds of honey and heat it up with some water and then throw in your flavorings. And yeah, they said like 10 raisins. And then I think I just had like a store-bought like wine yeast. Turned out good. But it was like specifically 10 raisins.
Yeah, because it doesn't need a whole lot. It's just, if you only have sugar with the yeast, it doesn't like it. Your ferment will be slower, and I think you'll be more likely to have some off flavors.
Was there ever any, like, molding or things going rancid in, like, making your homemade alcohols?
I had an experiment with pears that got infected with something that wasn't yeast. And I tried to kickstart with some more yeast to see if that would take over, but it didn't really, so it ended up not really working.
Yeah. I think pretty much any fermented thing, like the yeast will eat is like the good bacteria, and so it won't let any bad in, but if it gets contaminated or like off, then the bad mold will come in. Bacteria.
The big thing is, if you start your fermentation strong enough, you're fine. With that one, it started a little bit weak and slow, but I was like, it'll get going, because I didn't know how finicky pears were. But yeah, apparently pears are more susceptible to infections than a lot of other fruits.
I see. I need to figure out where to find. I'm trying a method of doing mead, I guess, like, without having to use, like, a store-bought packet of, like, yeast. But I need to figure out where to find some good fruit that wasn't sprayed with anything to hopefully capture the wild yeast. But I don't know. I might have some frozen from strawberry season, but I'm not quite sure if those were sprayed or not either, so I need to figure out how to find some sort of fruit in winter that is, like, not been sprayed with stuff, so I can hopefully get the yeast off of it.
Why not use some of your starter and see what happens?
I don't know. I mean, is there a difference, like, but I thought, like, between bread yeast and, like, other, like, alcohol yeast, there was a difference.
I mean, a dog is a dog. It'll do dog things.
Maybe.
But sometimes, depending on... That was actually not a great example, because dogs do have a ton of variation. Yeah, different yeast strains have different characteristics, both in flavor and what temperatures they like, and what alcohol they can tolerate, and everything. But they're all still yeast.
Yeah.
So the worst that's going to happen is it might be like slow, maybe taste a little funny or something.
I see. Let's see. Another question. I've missed it. I don't know. You talk about something.
Like what?
Did he say what of his favorite alcohol? What's your favorite alcohol and why? Go.
Very bad at picking favorites because I'm very good at finding things to appreciate.
What's
My
that?
introduction to spirits was bourbon, so bourbon definitely has a soft spot in my heart. Rum has probably the most variety flavor-wise and just even what you can do and it still be rum. Yeah, so if I had to pick only one, I might go with rum just for the sheer variety that it has. Scotch is great. It's kind of expensive because it's an imported luxury item, but it's great, especially smoky Isla Scotch because I like absurd flavors and I don't really do subtlety. Tequila is nice. I've not had much of it. I'd really like to try some mezcal. I've not had a chance to do that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess all of it, as long as it's made with an eye towards making something enjoyable.
Yeah. I definitely enjoy alcohol for the taste and not for the effects.
Yeah, I mean, I'll drink like an ounce, maybe ounce and a half of something and just sip on that over the evening, and that's it.
I do like that in that same distillery in New Orleans, I got that ginger rum. That was my favorite. And if I had people over, I'd try and get them to take shots with me. Just because I was like, it's yummy, I want to share it.
Because I found it.
Yeah, you picked it up and you never gave it to me.
Yeah. I don't know, I guess we just forgot. I'm pretty sure it's still there.
Well, I'll find it. I'll find it and take it back someday. Whenever you land your dirigible so I can come on. Well, I guess I'm on here right now. I'll take it with me then. I'll find it somewhere in here.
That works.
Someone said budget sangria. LOL. I can't remember what that was referenced to.
Oh, something great. So, what's that supermarket brand where you can get just the gallon jugs of wine? If you get their sangria and the kosher blackberry stuff that's also dirt cheap and in the grocery stores, mix it about a 2-to-1 favoring the sangria. It's a very nice, fruity table wine kind of thing.
Yummy. I like I don't know. I like sweet and fruity. I don't know. I do like a good a Coke and bourbon. That's always really yummy. A certain beer man enjoys that, and so he got me hooked on it. But otherwise, I don't know. I'm more of I like ciders. Hard ciders are probably one of my top, like, when it comes to an alcoholic drink. Is a nice hard cider. Some beers, I'm not like a huge beer person, but I like a nice quality beer. Some sake is good. I don't know, maybe mead and cider are probably my top, and like a good sweet wine. Yeah, you're more like I'm not as I don't know. I don't feel like I can appreciate as much of the like hard liquors. I don't know. I like them mixed with stuff. I don't think I'm so much the type to like sit and sip on a little bit. The taste. Probably like mix
you need to acclimate to it because your body has an immediate reaction to alcohol. It says, "Hey, this is dangerous. Please stop." And you get the burning and all that stuff. So
is that why our body does that? Because it's poison?
Yes. It's just not too much of a poison. And it poisons like bacteria and whatever a whole lot more than us. So
Oh, that's
You
why
can
it's
have
good for like rubbing alcohol, wounds and stuff.
Yeah, or even just, hey, the drinking water is not reliable. You have fermented beverages, and you can have an amount of poison in your drinking water that kills anything that would kill you, but you can still drink it.
I
Anyway,
feel like
so
more and more, like there's so many little things that I'm like, you know what, this is probably because we didn't have, all the convenient like refrigerations and freezers, and it's like we had to learn how to control the like fermenting and aging of our food because like we didn't have any like way to stop the aging, so we just had to control the aging.
Exactly.
Control the mold. That's all.
But yeah, big
food
thing.
history
If you
is.
do want to start tasting spirits, add water. That'll space things out enough that you can start to see things. And then as your body gets accustomed to, okay, this initial alcohol thing isn't a problem because it's the tiniest sip ever. Let's look past that. So it's basically just getting used to looking past it is the acclimation
enjoy
process.
The flavor. Interesting. Good evening, everyone. I see we got some more faces joining in. Hey there, Abigail. Hello there. Oh no, I'm trying to read words. Diego. Hello there. Riv and Inquisitor Jack, and hello, Owl Bandit, and Derek. Hello, all you lovely people. Welcome to the stream. We are talking about alcohols and how to make them. Domo. Anyways, I had to have a streamer moment there. Go on, bro.
Yeah. Oh, I see someone asking for bourbon recommendations. The big problem with...
I was just gonna say, we always just go for the cheap one since we like mixing it with Coke.
Which cheap one?
I don't know. I'd have to look. Oh,
Evan Williams Bottled in Bond.
What's that?
Evan Williams Bottled in Bond. If you want a cheap bourbon that doesn't have any faults. But as far as... It's hard to recommend because right now bourbon is cool. So you've got markups on so much stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like one example is Eagle Rare. It's a nice bourbon. It used to retail for like $25-$30, and it's 100% worth that. But now, at least in my area, the cheapest I've ever seen it is $45.
Ooh.
And there's more interesting things you can get once you start getting close to $50. So,
but then are those things that were $50 now like $80?
Well, part of the thing with bourbon being cool is a lot of it's cool tax. So it's the cool bourbons that get jacked up, which are the ones that are very widely recognized as being good or having certain characteristics. So yeah, at that price point, there's other lesser known ones that you would quite possibly like a lot better.
So you got to be hipster about it right now.
Pretty much. Or you just shell out money.
I see. Let's see here. Oh no. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm scrolling up and make sure we didn't miss any earlier. Someone said vodka or moonshine.
Moonshine. So the only definition of moonshine that I personally think is useful is untaxed liquor, which means if you can buy it in a store, it is not moonshine. But as far as distilleries selling stuff labeled as moonshine, there's nothing in the industry defining what moonshine is. So
it's just
it's
like
literally whatever
spirits.
they feel like tastes moonshiny and makes them smile. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just a useless word.
Yeah, because it's not like an actual specific alcohol. It's the state of the taxes on the alcohol.
Yes. Now, bourbon is a very specific word. Because, let's see, you've got not only requirements as far as what it's made from and that it's aged, but it must be aged in a new barrel. So, so bourbon is a fairly narrow category flavor-wise. I mean, you still got tons of variability, but it's all in the same ballpark. Where rum, it can go from anything that's basically vodka, like the basic white Bacardi, to this really weird, dark, syrupy, funky stuff.
Inquisitor Jack asks, it needs corn in the mash. American oak barrel, right?
Yeah, I think you need at least 51% corn. It must be made in the USA. It must be aged in a new barrel. Charred American white oak. I feel like I'm missing one thing, though.
Does it have to be made in America because you need the American oak?
No.
For the barrel?
It has to be made in America because it's an American category. Just like Scotch must be made and bottled in Scotland.
Huh. Why? I didn't even... Huh, that's interesting that it has to be made in a certain area.
Yes, because with aged spirits, the weather matters.
That's true.
Because the temperature, humidity, barometric pressure swinging around pulls the spirit in and out of the wood, and you get different flavor compounds pulled out of the wood and dissolved into the alcohol.
That is, yeah. All the stuff that goes into it. Interesting. I'm learning much. So is Dough Baby, who is not sleeping. Any other
this Milano guy is
chat?
wrong. I don't know who he is, but it does not have to be made in Kentucky.
It's gonna be a fight. But then why is it Kentucky bourbon?
Because Kentucky is where it originated. I mean, you can't sell Georgia bourbon as Kentucky bourbon, but they're both bourbon.
They just gotta call it bourbon. What if it's what if you go to a climate in the U.S. that isn't like Kentucky's climate?
It'll taste different. Yeah. Like, I've got some Texas bourbon that is intense because Texas is very hot and dry. So you get, when things are hot, chemical reactions move faster. So you get more stuff dissolved into the spirit faster. But yeah, it's only like a 3-year bourbon, but it's borderline black.
Yeah.
And then Scotland's the entire other end of the spectrum, because one, they use used barrels. So Scotland buys most of their barrels from American bourbon makers. Because to make bourbon, you fill it up once and then you're done with the barrel. So you ship it to Scotland and then they fill it with scotch.
The cycle is complete.
But yeah, in Scotland, the minimum aging requirements are longer. And the climate is much cooler. So you can have like a 20-year-old scotch that's pale. Just because it's not pulled as much color and stuff out of the wood.
Very cool, very cool. Let's see. I know you have much to get to on your dirigible here. So, chat, if you have any more questions, go ahead and ask them. We don't have to wrap up right away, but we can try and make sure we hit any more points of booze making if we didn't cover them. What do you think? Bro? You there, bro?
Yeah.
Oh.
I zoned out. I'm
sorry. Drink bourbon, then drink scotch, aged in the same barrel. I spoiled myself with a 25-year aged scotch on my 30th birthday. Was distilled my birthday year. It was pretty pale.
That's awesome. I've considered doing stuff like that, but I really don't care for that price. I think so far the most expensive bottle I've considered buying was Leopold Brothers 3-chamber still rye. 3-chamber still is a style of still that was proper before Prohibition, but they're a bit more complex. So after Prohibition lifted, nobody wanted to spend the money to make them again, so they just hadn't been made until this Leopold Brothers were digging through history books and was like, hey, I'm gonna make this goofy old style of still. So he did, and everybody said not cool things about it, but that first bottling was a $250 bottle. I considered it. But yeah. Oh, 120 is not what I was expecting.
Like that, I feel like I would get a fancy.
I feel like when
bottle
I
for
tried
120.
looking, everything was like 300 plus.
Ooh, yeah, that's a bit much. Someone says pre-prohibition recreation stuff is really neat.
Yeah, a big reason I
recreation.
considered it is just because of the sheer amount of effort. Because he didn't just make the still. He researched the recipes and everything. His goal was to recreate what rye whiskey was before Prohibition.
That would be, pretty cool. Let's see, we've got the classic question of, are you single? That every, family member of a streamer gets. But you're on an airship, so no one can catch you. You can outrun them.
Yeah. See.
Let's see. Okay. I think that's all the questions.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of cool that the random booze stuff filled the time decently.
Oh,
I was afraid
they went by
peter
quick.
out. And we'd have to get into
plenty to
backup
talk about.
topics, which wouldn't be terribly difficult, but
Yeah, there's plenty. I'm sure I'll have you on again. You have many skills. More fun times can be had on this funny little airship here. Flying high in the sky.
is my distillery on the airship? No, because that would be tax evasion.
What if
Fun
you're in
fact.
international? What if you're over international waters?
Even then, it might be sketchy, because the only place in the world where home distilling is legal is New Zealand. Everywhere else, it's straight up illegal. Now, enforcement varies, but I think it's the
Technically.
most uniform law between all the countries on the globe that there is.
Don't make because with you can get a much higher alcohol content, so just could get kind of sketchy.
No, that's not.
No?
It's taxes.
Oh, that's right. It's taxes. It's always
That's it.
taxes.
It's always taxes.
It's always taxes.
Yeah, and okay, real quick. So people always go, oh, but with distilling, you might make yourself go blind. Distilling creates nothing. If you can make a good, safe beer or a good, safe wine, and then you boil that beer or wine and collect part of it, you cannot add methanol or add acetone that wasn't there in the first place. So unless you literally just take the 4 shots that have the unpleasant stuff at the beginning and do shots with that, which would be difficult because the stuff's disgusting. Yeah, no. If you can make a good, safe beer, you can boil that down and keep the tasty parts and have an even safer beverage.
Yummier too, I'm sure. That's what makes like good quality liquors so like smooth, is like filtering all the kind of like less stuff out, right?
I have issues with the word smooth.
Oh, really?
It doesn't mean much.
Velvety?
That'd be better.
Silky.
Because it at least implies some level of viscosity in the mouthfeel. But the only thing I can really get out of smooth is, oh, I didn't make a funny face.
See,
there's not much I can do with that.
Not slippery. That one, no. I'm trying to think what other adjectives could describe this when it's like a clean.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways. Oh, so he's a good catch. I may have to try and catch him anyway. Where's my jetpack? Run, Mel! Run! Run! They're after you now.
Oh no.
Don't think you can catch up with this dirigible airship thing. I'm so glad you finally got this done. You and the other bro were building this thing forever. Many conversations.
Yeah.
So many conversations.
And that's honestly not entirely off the table. I just need a whole lot of resources.
Yeah, because it is kind of big. The only thing I remember from all those conversations is like, alright, we gotta build this thing, we gotta do all this stuff, but to build this thing, we have to build the thing to build it inside of. Like a workshop. That's the only thing I remember. Yeah.
I think there might still be an airship hangar in Ohio that you can go see.
I believe there's some in New Jersey.
That might be what I'm thinking. I want to go see one at some point because they are insane and massive.
It is cool. Maybe
because I mean, you think about it. Even a small airship is going to be like 500 feet long.
Yeah.
And
like,
whatever.
I mean, you see how big like a hot air balloon is just to carry a couple people.
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
It would
It'd be a lot, amazing, but it would be cool.
I need the resources of a small country, I think.
So which country are we taking over? Well, chat, which one are we going to go for? Maybe next stream.
Oh.
How to take over a small country for the sole purpose of building a dirigible.
Okay, to Inquisitor Jack. Private distilling requires a license in the US. Yes, and it's extra dumb because most places, how the distilling licenses are priced and structured necessitates a commercial operation to make it anywhere close to financially feasible. Oh, one exception. In New York, they have a farm distillery classification that, as long as you're making below a certain level, which is still a high enough level, and you grow, this stuff you're making it from is either from your property or local, it's a very reasonable cost. There's an old retired organic chemist in upstate New York who does some really cool stuff. I want to go visit that sometime. Actually, can I find he is real quick?
You said Ohio, right?
No, upstate New York.
Oh, upstate New York. Don't know what I was thinking. Ohio. See,
Well, I meant Ohio with the airships.
Oh, right. No tax man. I have no moonshine. The spontaneous human combustion? Unrelated. Now, if you'll excuse me, falls unconscious. And he got away with it, too.
How would I find this guy? Because what's really cool about him is he found a bunch of historical stills from way back, like Renaissance and a bit newer.
Oh, wow.
And he did some research. He actually made examples out of lab glass to see if they would have actually worked. He did an interview.
I know, like, beer, like most of, I don't know if it was Renaissance or one, back quite some time ago, most beer was made, by ladies and monks.
Yeah.
You had to, Yeah, especially if you don't have clean water, having, a little bit of alcohol helps kill all the other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's been side by side. Alcohol's been side by side with humans for a long time now.
Yeah, especially in the West. Eric Stroud.
But let's see. While you're looking that up, let me scan for any last questions. We'll probably wrap up here. Let's see. I'm going to brew elderberry gin. Elderflower gin. Oh, sounds interesting.
Sweet.
Elderflower, like same thing that the elderberries come from. I'm guessing it is. I like elderberry stuff. Like double up on like attacking sickness. Maybe I don't know if it would help attacking sickness the way like elderberries does. What's the easiest to make? I think the mead I made was super simple, where you just basically like mix everything together. I threw it in a jar with a little sort of fermentation bubble lid on it so that the air could escape, and I didn't have to worry about burping it. And so I just threw stuff together and put it in the pantry. Left it for a couple months, and now it's really good. So I'm pretty sure. Oh, I think most wines made similar. I don't know what's like the base for wine. Whereas like for mead, it's basically like a honey wine. It's like regular wine, just like sugar instead of honey.
Yeah. Now, a big thing with easiest is, are you willing to wait? Because with a lot of things, if you're willing to wait, you'll get a ton of improvement.
Yeah, I think technically the mead only needed about 6 weeks, but I feel like with most of my fermentation, it's like I throw something together and I'm like, I should get around to checking on that, but then several days or weeks pass. But I guess that's to my advantage in my booze making then. Oh, wine is grapes, so it's mainly grapes. That's white, right? Yeah, wine, obviously, grapes. Grapey wine. Winey grapes. Grapes of wrath. Wrath because they were whining. Alright, well, whenever you find it, we can wrap up on that, I think. Trying to find
I just found it.
Ah, sweet.
It's Mohawk Spirit.
Mohawk Spirit. Ah, interesting.
Yeah, and if you go to his research tab, then He's got his stuff on the reconstruction of ancient distillation designs. No, that's there. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, he did cool stuff.
Very cool, very cool. Sweet, sweet. All right. Do you have any closing thoughts here? Once again, everyone, this is Vinnie Vanilla, Mad Scientist Brew, in his dirigible in the sky. Where are we streaming from? You'll never know. We'll be gone before you can find us. Zoom! Thank you everyone for coming to the stream.
Okay.
I'm glad you guys could join us.
Yeah, it was fun. Hopefully if we do this again, I will be coughing less.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it hadn't come through in the stream too much. I've been covering the mic, but...
Yeah, I didn't notice any, so hopefully
well,
you feel
good.
better soon.
Yeah, I'm much better today than I was a couple days ago. The upside of that is I get to work from home again tomorrow.
Yay! That is always an advantage.
Oh yeah.
Especially, it's amazing how much just like driving takes it out of you sometimes.
Yeah, because between the drive and the hour for lunch, if I work from home, I basically have 3 hours given back to me that I can do something at home with.
It's very handy.
So, yeah,
Oh, hey, Senna. Yep, we are wrapping up now. Not sure if you were planning to raid or not, but we are wrapping up. We'll have to check to see who else is on. Sorry, Senna. If you have any last alcohol question, throw them in real quick. Real quick, we're about to go. But it's good to see you, Senna. All right. Well, yeah, I think we will move to the end screen, and so yeah, thank you for joining me, Vinny. I'm sure we'll see you again.
You're welcome. And let's see, as far as other topics, I've put way too much effort and time into learning stuff about music.
Oh yeah, you could talk a lot about music.
Making instruments.
You were very helpful, you know, in all our young days and helping us with our emotional troubles. You know, you're in a way a little bit of a psychiatrist to us all.
I don't know if I want to bring that up.
You'll never escape it.
Yeah.
Anyway, music theory would be fun.
I don't know if I want to. If I was going to try to do theory, I'd want to actually prepare something.
Okay, yeah.
And not just go in randomly, because, yeah, I'd at least want to have something to lay out a decent foundation and why it's actually cool.
Yeah, this was fun. Just a little chit chatty, but yeah, something a little more involved, like music theory, would be fun to do another time. Well, if you guys have any ideas, for any ideas, tweet them at me. So anyway, we better wrap up. Joe Baby is needing his mama. So good night, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Good night.